why it matters, this $3 million preemptive offer, is that it tells us something very specific. It tells us that fifth season doesn't believe that it will survive a bidding war if it goes to market, which tells us that studios would have been ready to spend a lot of money on a very good script. I'm not saying the script is good, or I mean, I thought the script was very powerful. I thought it did something rather exceptional in terms of being able to present an argument. What would AI do if it had to survive, and communicate it in a way that is understandable to the layperson? But that preemptive buy tells us that fifth season, that is deeply connected to studios, knows that studios have the money to spend and know that they're willing to spend it on original content. Is it kind of big, thrillery, suspense? Yes. Is it sci-fi, grounded sci-fi? Yes. But they're still willing to spend it, which was completely removed from the narrative that we kept hearing up until that point, which is it's all IP. That's all anybody cares about. If there's no IP, nobody's going to touch it. It can't be entirely original. If you want to write an original thing, go write a book. I never fully bought into that, but I've certainly heard it and had my own reactions to it. But with alignment coming out of nowhere and selling for so much money before the studios could even, put a foot in that bidding war.
So they saw that this script was going to be huge, and they were like, "We need to do something now."
They thought they would not survive a studio bidding war. Anybody, I mean, they can come back and say, "No, we heard you speak," and absolutely not. Then why do you offer that much money up front so it doesn't go to market?
Yeah, because from the sound of this, I mean, I haven't read the script. I should. If you have it, actually, I'd love for you to send it to me.
I have the script. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Very good script.
It doesn't, it seems like such an anomaly, though. Like, I know I'm just kind of thinking what some of the writers are thinking, like, okay, that this isn't going to happen all the time. And, have we seen any of those types of sales since? Doesn't seem like it. I don't know. I'm trying to play negative Nancy a little bit and just.
No, but listen, there were a couple of spec sales before that started moving. Another thing, I mentioned the summer, and I mentioned Neon. The thing that for me made me lean in and go, maybe it's not going to be as bad last summer was Long Legs. Now, you know me, you know the industry. We both know that summer box office weekends are scheduled out years at a time. This is the time where studio makes the majority of their money. This is where they get the all-powerful 18 to 24-year-olds to go see movies again and again and again. They are scheduling those weekends within an inch of their lives to make sure they're maximizing the revenue. In July of 2024, a small independent horror film with a star that was nowhere on the poster, Nicolas Cage, was released in July of 2024, and it took the box office weekend. So
somehow they knew that was going to work. They somehow knew that they were going to make their money.
I don't know that they knew. I don't know that they didn't look at the calendar and kind of go like, well, if there's a weekend that we can try, it's probably that weekend. But in this world, an independent title from an independent producer, financier, distribution company made the weekend, took the weekend in July. Now, if you told me it was the end of August, okay, everybody has movie fatigue, whatever. The 5 people that are going to see the movie, let them have a good time. But for an independent film to take a box office weekend in what is the beginning of summer on original content, and granted it's horror, and horror is always interesting now, and yada yada, still happened. We still can't shy away from that. And we had a couple of other spec sales between that and alignment. So we are seeing that, but we're also not in a spec market environment and have not been for years. So trying to measure progress based on the older model of selling specs is just not going to be as effective as we'd like it to, because that's just not the reality today.
Yeah. It's just fascinating because I know how Hollywood works, but I don't really know all the inner workings. So just hearing all of this is like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That, I mean, it's any movie's a gamble, regardless of whether they think it's, Snow White or Long Legs. Like,
yeah.
But
now, I mean, you and I are recording this the day after the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
Where Anora from Neon, from a writer-director who's only ever done small indies, not only went to win Best Pictures, it won the 4 top awards.
Right.
A small independent movie that is not based on IP, that is, and for the record, like I would have been delighted had Wicked won. I enjoyed Wicked. I would have been fine with Conclave, but that Anora won so emphatically.
Yeah.
Once again, we're talking about original storytelling, original characters, kind of underexplored worlds and characters, which to me is just incredibly exciting. And yeah, I mean, Neon's not going to be opening up its doors for all writers to just throw in your script and we'll see what we can do. But I think that it speaks to the appetite for smaller, more intimate filmmaking, whether it's in the horror or drama space or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Um,
on that note then, like what does that mean writers should because Alignment is a genre movie, Longlegs is a genre movie, you're seeing a lot of horror thrillers kind of be popular. They always pretty much have.
mhm.
Should a writer go, well, I guess that's how I'm going to get noticed. I mean, I kind of know the answer to that, but what do you think?
Listen, I think at this point, reps are looking for actionable titles. You have to remember that for most writers, the way in is going to be through representation rather than they know a bunch of CEs and DODs at production companies and sure, let's go talk to them. For most writers, it's going to be coming in through reps, and reps are looking for actionable genres because don't forget, reps have been around for all of this. And if writers are not getting paid, they're not getting commission.
Yeah.
So I do find that reps are looking for those actionable genres now.
So
Um,
explain actionable. What do you mean by actionable?
Actionable is a script that is actionable is a script that a manager can look at, or an agent for that matter, and say, I know who I'm sending it to. There is action I can step into on its behalf.
How does a
There's,
writer know if their script is actionable?
I'm sorry,
How does a writer know if their script is actionable?
take a step, look at what you've written, take a step back and consider who makes this type of movie. Doesn't have to be this exact movie, but who are the people that are making it? If you come up with like nobody's making it, it's going to be significantly harder. If you can come up with a list of like, here are the 5 producers that make this type of film, or 10 or 20, right? We know what's out there, right? At the end of the day, we know what's happening and who's making what. So you as a writer should always know, here's where my content lives. Here are the type of companies that are producing it. Here are the directors that are around that. Here are the studios that work with it or don't work with it. Because ultimately, when a manager, and I'll speak to managers more so than agents because I do think they're much more on the forefront of building screenwriting careers, when they look at a script, they are looking for a script they can move on. As they're reading a script, they're starting to think, who can I send it to? Who's my friend over here who would respond to it? And who's my friend that has a deal at Universal that I can send it into? And do we have? What pod do we have at Amazon that we can get it into? Those genre tend to be, like you said, horror, thriller, erotic thriller, we're hearing a lot about now, grounded sci-fi, action, romantic comedy, and some broad comedy, even though comedy is tough, it doesn't travel. So we
I
hear
did
like
hear that rom-coms were kind of coming back a little bit. I've heard that like a year ago.
I do think, I mean, I think more so than straight broad comedies because comedy is very much a domestic product. It's
Yeah.
sensibility based, so it doesn't travel. And filmmakers and producers want to make as much as they can on their movies. So they want a movie that can have an international distribution plan.
Yeah. Yeah. I cut you off, but I think this is so valuable to hear because a big part of what a writer is supposed to do is come up with the best unique idea, and so duh. But we do have to be business people also. We have to be thinking like a producer might be thinking, and in a lot of ways act like a producer, but trying to just keep a pulse on who's making what is so important. And sadly, I don't know if enough writers are doing that.
Listen, at the end of the day, I think it's important to tell the stories that are important to you, that are meaningful to you, that you care about, that you're invested in, but also understand where they fit within the business,
Hmm.
right? Because it is a business. And people that are making movies want to keep their jobs. So they have to be successful in it in some capacity, right? So some movies, some screenplays are better to go out to agents, managers, find a home. Others are better to go out to producers, and others still are better to just, if the industry is not making something that you feel audiences are hungry for and you're able to fundraise for it and put it together, fundraise for it and put it together. Make a case for it on the screen. You can't make a case on the page for something that Hollywood is decidedly not making. You have to make the business case for it by making it and proving it successful.